Picture it. It's any quiet morning in the Lake District. The mist is still sitting on the fells, the air smells of wet bracken, and you pull into a car park to stretch your legs. And there they are, a whole row of them, glowing, bespoke, enormous. Campervans and motorhomes that cost more than most houses in the north. £100,000 of German engineering and hand-fitted birch ply, parked bumper to bumper like a showroom. You do the maths in your head. The median full-time wage in this country is roughly £39,000 a year, before tax. So, how on earth is the man in the fleece, the one making a flat white in a vehicle worth six figures, affording this? You look at your own bank balance, and you wonder the same thing every one of us wonders. What secret gold mine did these people find? Here's the uncomfortable answer. Most of them didn't find a gold mine. They found a loan. And today, we're pulling back the curtain on the high-interest scaffolding that's holding up the entire British Vanlife dream. Let me give you the first way to see it. Think of your neighbour's brand new van, the way you'd think of a theatrical stage set. From the street, from the audience, it looks like a fortress of freedom. It looks solid. It looks heavy and expensive and permanent. But walk around the back of the scenery, behind the painted plywood, and you find the truth of every stage set ever built. A few flimsy wooden struts, a lot of empty air, and thousands of pounds of high-interest glue holding the whole illusion upright. It's a hologram of wealth. And unlike a real fortress, this one can be dismantled by the bank in a single afternoon. So how does the glue work? This is the part almost nobody outside the trade understands. When you buy a car, the lender gives you 3, maybe 4 or 5 years to pay. But a motorhome or a campervan isn't classed like a car. It qualifies for something called leisure finance, and leisure finance is a different animal entirely. Here, on a hire purchase or PCP agreement, the terms stretch to 10, 12, even 15 years. Stretch the payments over the full 15 years, and something magical seems to happen. A £100,000 vehicle, which should be terrifying, suddenly costs somewhere around £700 to £800 a month. That's it. Less than a lot of people pay to rent a spare room. The dealer smiles, the number looks gentle, and the customer signs. But look at what they've actually signed. They're now handcuffed to that asset for the better part of 2 decades. And here's the cruel twist in the timeline. By the time they finally make the last payment, by the time they truly own it, the engine's worn, the habitation tech is obsolete, the upholstery is tired, and the thing is worth a fraction of what they've poured in. They spent 15 years buying a vehicle, and they crossed the finish line just as the vehicle reached the end of its life. That's not ownership. That's a very long, very expensive lease, with a disappointing prize at the end. Now, where does the deposit come from? Because these deals still want a chunk up front. And this is the silent engine of the entire British campervan market. It's the pension. Here's how it works. From the age of 55, rising to 57 in 2028, you're allowed to crack open your self-invested personal pension, your SIP, and take 25% of it, completely tax-free. HMRC lets you walk away with a quarter of your pot. No tax due, capped at £268,275. It's meant to be the reward for a lifetime of saving, the prize for decades of discipline. And what are thousands of Brits doing with that prize? They're using it to put a deposit on a van. The very first day the door is legally open, at 55, they reach in, pull out their tax-free cash, and hand it to a dealer. Think about what that actually is. That lump sum was your future. It was your care costs, your medical bills, your safety net for the years when you can't work. And you're decapitating your money tree, chopping the whole top off, to buy a weekend hobby that sits still for most of the year. Worse, if you then move that pension into drawdown and start pulling taxable income to help cover the monthly payments, you can trigger a rule that slashes how much you're ever allowed to save back in, down to just £10,000 a year for the rest of your life. You don't just spend the money, you quietly wreck your ability to ever rebuild it. Which brings me to the second way to see this. Forget vans for a second. Financing a £100,000 vehicle on a basic wage is like leasing your own oxygen. Stay with me. You've got the air to breathe. You've got the status, the sunsets, the trips down to Cornwall. You can feel the freedom in your lungs. But you don't own the lungs. The capital isn't yours. You're renting the ability to breathe, month by month, and so you're forced to keep turning up to a job you might quietly hate, just to keep that monthly valve open. And the moment you stop, the moment the income stutters, the air is cut off. The finance company sends a man with a flatbed, and your freedom machine is towed away while the neighbors watch. That's the trap. The van was supposed to set you free, instead it chains you to your desk. And we haven't even talked about the running costs, the hidden siphons that drain you before you've bought a single litre of diesel. In 2026, insuring one of these things properly isn't cheap. Specialist motorhome insurance, proper habitation and mechanical servicing, and secure storage so it isn't stolen off your drive. Add those three together and you're looking at somewhere around £4,500 a year. Every year. Before fuel, before site fees. And when you do finally get away, the campsites know exactly what's parked in their field. And the premium markup on a peak season pitch reflects it. So here's the maths that should keep people up at night. Add the monthly finance to those hidden siphons. And on a normal wage, you're effectively working from the start of the week, Monday into Tuesday into Wednesday, purely to fund this vehicle. Half your working week gone, and what are you funding? A machine that, if we're honest, sits on your driveway for something like 48 weeks out of the year. You bleed for it on any quiet morning at the start of every working week, so it can sit and depreciate in the rain. And depreciate, it does. Some things hold their value. A VW California is famous for it, but a bespoke, hand-built Vanlife conversion, many of those lose 30% of their value the moment the first owner lies down and sleeps in it. One night, 30%. You've watched a year's salary evaporate before you've made your first cup of tea. Now let me show you the number that really hurts, the ISA mirror. Take that same £800 a month, don't give it to a finance company. Put it, quietly and boringly, into a low-cost global index fund inside your ISA. Leave it alone for 15 years, the same 15 years of that leisure loan. At a modest average return of around 6% a year, that pot doesn't grow to a few thousand. It grows into more than £220,000. Read that again. The van owner and the index fund saver spent exactly the same money each month. One of them ends up with a knackered 15-year-old vehicle. The other ends up with the best part of £250,000. They didn't just buy a van, they burned a house in the north. That's the real price on the sticker, and no dealer will ever show it to you. So, what do the genuinely wealthy do? Here's the tell. The truly rich, the ones in the home counties with real assets, mostly don't own these vans at all. They rent one for 2 weeks in the summer, enjoy every second of it, hand back the keys, and let someone else carry the insurance, the storage, the depreciation, and the debt. Their capital stays where it belongs, in productive assets that pay them, not in a depreciating box that costs them. They buy the experience. They refuse to buy the liability. Because that's the shift nobody tells you about. Wealth in Britain is no longer about what you drive. It's about what you own, 100%, outright, with no monthly valve that somebody else can close. True freedom isn't a fortress of painted plywood on a 15-year leash. It's a life where the lungs are yours, where the air you breathe belongs to you, and not to a finance company in the city. So next time you pull into that car park in the Lake District and see the glowing row of six-figure vans, don't feel poor. Look closer. You might just be looking at a car park full of people who lease their own oxygen and haven't yet realized the bill never stops. If this video helped, like and hit subscribe. See you in the next one.